Motrolics.
Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of the Cadillac Society podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and anything else surrounding the iconic luxury marque. On today's episode, the refreshed 2025 Cadillac Escalade. I'm your host G, and joining us as always is Cadillac Society Executive Editor Alexander Luft. So, bro, how was your weekend in Miami?
Actually, I just realized that I'm back, not in Miami anymore, so I need to finish buttoning up the shirt.
Dude, we're in Broward, man. Cover up.
Yeah, I need to finish this up. Sorry,
families.
It was a wardrobe malfunction.
But you look good though. I like the tan.
Yeah, thanks,
Very good
man.
tan.
It was fun. I got some sun. I'm feeling it. I'm ready.
You ready for that classic refresh now? You refreshed? You're refreshed?
I'm refreshed.
I heard
The Escalade's refreshed.
I heard some stuff. I don't know. But before we get into all this, we have a bunch of new listeners. So, got to catch them up a little bit. Something like 20,000 views in June alone. Mm-hmm. It's growing in July. Mm-hmm. So, I'd like to take a few moments to remind our new listeners where they can find us. First, CadillacSociety.com/podcast is the place to watch, listen, and subscribe to the show. You can also find us in all popular podcatchers. All right. Today, I heard that you had something special. You just had a briefing with Cadillac about a refresh?
Yeah. So it's the 2025 Escalade refresh that you and I discussed on episode. Oh man,
This happened.
we should not discuss episode numbers anymore because after the first one, it's just all a blur.
It's a blur, right? It's been good. It's been good. It's a good blur.
I think it's episode 2.
All right.
And I had a briefing about the 2025 Escalade. So we're recording this today, Monday. This is going up Wednesday. So the refresh is almost exactly what I had predicted on episode 2, with a couple of small exceptions, which we'll get into here in a bit. And Cadillac says about the refresh specifically that the 2025 model, quote, elevates what owners love most about the iconic luxury SUV, end quote. So let's start with the exterior.
Let's go, man. We love what we love most. So let's get most of what we love.
Yeah, we might as well. So on the outside, I think we've actually already seen this at CadillacSociety.com. If anyone's tuning in and they're new, we've brought every single trim level that there is to bring from a photography standpoint. We've brought photos of the refresh model with no camo already. So we've seen this. This is nothing new. The front end is more expressive and dramatic now. It's taking on the front fascia from the Escalade IQ. The way in which Cadillac presented this kind of the new front fascia is interesting. So here's a small bit from the press release. I'm going to read it directly here. Quote, the expectations and desires of Escalade customers are well understood by the Cadillac design team. The 2025 Escalade takes design cues from the best of what Cadillac has to offer and bring them to life in the refreshed 2025 Escalade. On the exterior, the 2025 Escalade features thoughtful updates that continue the successful design language launched with the 2021 model year, including a new, bolder front-end design, end quote. So, yes, new front fascias that are trim-specific. You have the horizontally oriented turn signals now. Those are not the headlights anymore, the squinty, horizontally looking things. Those are the turn signal indicators. They're also the hazard lights. Below them, the vertically oriented daytime running lights, which are the signature accent lights that Cadillac is known for from a design standpoint today. They're present and accounted for. And just to the inside of those, in the same kind of general vertically oriented cluster, but to the inside of those from a actual physical light emitting source standpoint are the actual forward lights. I think the new front end looks great. Obviously, they've taken quite a bit from the Escalade IQ. And in fact, Cadillac confirmed that the design details were inspired by the Lyric as well as the Celestiq design language. Now Cadillac, whether it's internal combustion engine models or EVs, they're now taking on a kind of a familial design theme in general. There is a little surprise though. So there is an illuminated front crest, and that is standard. And then on V series, so Escalade V ESV, plus the premium luxury platinum models, there is an illuminated grille surround. So that is a surprise. So essentially the outside of the grille is illuminated now, and that is quite interesting because we haven't seen that detail or discussed that detail before. There are also a few small changes at the rear, so new reflectors, the shape of the actual exhaust is different, and there is revised taillights, which still have the same general shape, but they now feature a revised kind of a smaller signature element that's new for the refresh. I think it looks great, actually. I don't think there is anything negative to say about the way this looks. I think it's very distinctive, very aggressive, but if it's aggressive if you're going with something like a sport. When you're looking at the luxury, premium luxury, this looks very elegant in my opinion, with all the chrome bits there, and the platinum I think looks also just as good. If you're into the horizontally oriented grille, then it's there for you.
I mean, I really see it coming through the personality like we were describing before. It's you get to pick. You want to go sport, you want to go luxury, but it's really coming through on the design. You can pick it up very easily. You can enjoy it properly. I'm a huge fan of that new grille, dude.
Which one? Nice. Which one do you like? You like the Sport? Yeah.
Yeah,
the Sport looks great. So they essentially what they've done here is they've taken the grille from the V and they've kind of brought it over to the Sport. And that's really the way that all the other Cadillac Sport versus V series, that stair step, that's the way it's always been, right? You've had, for instance, the CT4, the CT5, you've had these, the CT6 even before it got discontinued, the first generation. You had a Sport model, which had the same grille as the V model, but then the V got some other things that it needed for breathing, for instance, something that I can't obviously can't do right now.
It's a Miami sun, dude. It's Miami sun. It's bad right now.
No, it was that Colombia Argentina game, man. It's the pollution from that game.
Did you see the people trying to get in the stadium, dude?
Yeah, they're crawling in there through the air ducts or whatever it was.
Any means necessary.
Any means possible, just getting in there. Yep.
The grill, bro. The grill ties it in. It's fantastic.
The grill does tie it in, yeah. The grills look great.
The personality is, I'm telling you, it's one of those things that I saw you kind of like point out a little bit before. I know CadillacSociety.com has reported extensively on it, which is the development of these personality types in their lineup. And now you can really select, and it's coming out beautifully. Like I'm a huge fan. If you like the Sport, it's hard to turn down.
It is. It looks great. Same thing for the V. I mean, the V is just the Sport. The upper grille is the Sport, same grille as the Sport, but then the lower grille is deeper. Because of the cooling needs for the LT4 supercharged V8 engine, and the Sport looks great. The V looks even better. But like before, I wasn't really a fan of the luxury trim. Just all the bling around it. But the way it's executed here, I think is great. It's really good, especially the grille, especially the way in which the vertical elements, the vertical lighting elements now work together with that grille. There's a lot of this bright work going on. It looks good. The grille really is coming into its own has come into its own on this.
I mean, they got perfect balance on it now. Before, it used to feel like it was too much.
Before, I just didn't like it. It just didn't strike. It didn't catch my eye. And I remember I was at the debut event for the 21 and newer Escalade, and that was the all new 5th generation Escalade, and I was looking at all of them in person, and I just didn't. I really liked the Sport back then, like I said, but the luxury and the platinum to me were just kind of, take it or leave it.
It felt like they had like a bunch of like accessory chrome available, and they were trying to figure out where they could fit it in.
Yeah,
this is beautiful.
They had some spare chrome lying around.
It was just too much. I was looking at it and I was like, hey man, I love it. I love the Escalade. I love the feel. I love the vibe. But boy, oh boy, did they go all out with chrome.
Yeah. You can also see here the new taillights. This secondary graphic here is new, and I think it looks great. The smaller, shorter graphic within the taillight itself. What else is there on the exterior? There are 3 new exterior colors. A G and Stone, which is kind of this bold, deep green gray with a confident, solid appearance, as Cadillac describes it. There's Deep Sea Metallic, which is a rich metallic blue with some tinges of gold in the highlight. And then there's Latte Metallic, which is the kind of a modern light bronze with an elegant metallic effect. That color, I think, would be spot on. I don't know if we have photos of it just yet, but that color, I think, would look excellent. Wheels. there are some wheel-related news, as we had discussed during episode 2. So there are 24s now, three 24s, three 24-inch wheel designs, right? All of these are using TPC spec tires. That's essentially a new compound that was developed specifically for the Escalade with whatever the tire supplier is. So it's not your typical off-the-shelf compound. We've talked about this in past episodes. I don't want to sound like a broken record on the TPC spec stuff, but 24-inch wheels, 3 designs of those. And there will also be a bunch of new 22-inch wheel options as well. So Cadillac actually tells me that there will only be one carryover 22-inch wheel, and that will be the wheel that's found on the luxury trim, on the base trim.
The rest are all new designs.
The rest of the 22s are all new.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So that's essentially the exterior.
What about the interior?
Yeah. So inside, just like we had predicted, curved, massive, 55-inch pillar-to-pillar display running Google Automotive Services. So that means you could do things like Hey Google, and you can control both vehicle functions and infotainment-related functions as well. Just with your voice. It's pretty good. I mean, I've used it on other Cadillac vehicles. I've used it on other GM vehicles that are running the same general software, and it works pretty good. The only mystery there is what happens when the subscription runs out. How much is it going to be? And no one knows yet. We haven't been able to find an answer to this question yet, and neither Cadillac nor GM have actually been able to give us a direct answer either. So that's the only question mark there. But from a actual software and system standpoint, it works well. It's very advanced, very modern. And the pre-refresh model did have some voice controls, but it wasn't anywhere near as advanced as this. This is like a whole new level of, natural speech control. And this system also has an app store. It also has CarPlay and Android Auto. So it's a feature-rich system. But yeah, there's 55 inches worth of real estate. So this is going to make the Escalade, if it hasn't been flying off lots already, this is going to make it fly off lots even faster. Because first it presents itself so well. You have someone checking out this thing at the dealer, right? They're interested in the Escalade. Maybe they're first-time buyers. Maybe they're not sure if they want to upgrade from their current Escalade, their pre-refresh Escalade, or maybe even an older model. They get in and they see this screen. Sold. Take my money. That's it.
I'm with you on that. That screen really does catch your eye.
The screen, it's really actually 2 screens. You have the kind of the left quadrant here that spans the instrument cluster plus the center infotainment, the center stack screen, and then you have the one in front of the front passenger. Now, I know we're going to get this question, so I might as well answer it right now. Yes, whenever you shift the 2025 Escalade into gear, then it will blank out the passenger side screen.
Meaning the driver can't see it.
The driver can't see it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's not going to turn it off. It just will polarize it in a way where the driver can't see it.
Great feature.
Yeah. It also has a bunch of hard cable inputs and wireless inputs for that front screen in front of the front passenger. So you could, watch, YouTube, Hulu. There's a web browser there. You can see vehicle status. You could look at a map there and send the mapping coordinates or, point of interest to the center screen. You can do all that.
So the infotainment system is very well displayed. It's very well tied in together. So you get interaction from multiple passengers with the driver through this infotainment system?
Yeah, that was already the case for the pre-refresh model. If you had the rear seat entertainment system, you could actually go in and, those sitting in the rear seat, they could go in, find a point of interest, and request to send it to the center screen. You can still do that on this one, but now you can do it from the front screen as well. So you can do it from whichever screen you like. Right below the screen, there is also what Cadillac calls the FCC, or the Forward Command Center. Now, the Forward Command Center, it is used to control primarily the HVAC, so the climate controls of the Escalade, but there are other things taking place there as well. So a few other controls can be placed on that depending on what the vehicle is doing. It's kind of this adaptive thing. But from what I gather, most of the use of that screen will be for the climate controls. So that's this screen here. It's not buttons anymore, unfortunately. So if you like hard buttons, I like hard buttons in my interiors. I do not like capacitive controls. I don't like soft controls that are on screen for climate control functions. But alas, the 2025 Escalade is moving in that direction. Interestingly enough, in Europe, there was legislation that had been passed just recently over the past few weeks, where it forces the automaker to actually provide hard buttons for certain vehicle functions.
Is this just out as a safety feature type thing?
No, I mean there's no safety related stuff involved there whatsoever. No, this is just a matter of, I think, two things. The industry as a whole, this isn't Cadillac specifically, right? This is you look across the board, everyone's doing it. Tesla started it, so you can thank them. But you have VW going in this direction, for example. Ford is another one that's going in this direction. Mercedes has gone in this direction. BMW is already there. Audi is already there. They're all going to, away from physical hard buttons and controls, specifically for climate controls. They're moving away from that and to, something like this, like a little dedicated screen for HVAC. The reason they're doing it, I think, is twofold. One is that wow factor, because to people who are not, they're not really using this when they're buying the vehicle, right? It's just sitting there pretty on the lot, or on the showroom floor. It presents itself way better than a bunch of buttons. So that's the first reason. So it's kind of got that wow factor behind it. The usability, it's a lot more difficult to use it when you're driving. So when you're driving 80 miles an hour and you want to adjust your temperature by 3 degrees, in this case, in the case of the Escalade, you could just say, hey, Google, decrease the cabin temperature by 3 degrees. So it might get easier to do it that way. But there is a second reason why this is taking place, and that reason kind of goes back to COVID. COVID, there was a lack of chips, semiconductors, all that. Guess what? Every single button needs a chip. Every single button needs a semiconductor. They've learned that, why don't we just eliminate all the buttons that need their own little chips and just make one big chip, one big screen that needs one big chip that we know we're going to be able to get in, as part of our supply chain. So this movement is part of that. This is, like I said, this is not a Cadillac thing. This is not a GM thing. Everybody is doing this. Everybody is going in this direction. If they haven't yet gone in this direction, they will end up going in this direction unless there is more legislation that prevents them from doing it. So that is taking place. The issue is, usability. Does the driver want this? And you asked about safety. This doesn't help safety whatsoever, because you're driving 80 miles an hour. Unless you're using Super Cruise, you're going to be looking away at, to adjust the air conditioning temperature by those 3 degrees. You're going to be looking away from the road much longer using a system like this than you would be if you were using something else, right? Like an actual physical control. In fact, the reason I got my X7, I know, not a Cadillac, but I did shop the Escalade. I was between the Escalade, the X7, and the Mercedes GLS. The reason I got the pre-refresh X7, I got one of the last few remaining X7s. That was the pre-refreshed X7s. The reason I got the pre-refresh one is because it had physical, tactile controls on the center stack for the HVAC system, not the screen-based stuff. So personally, not a fan of that screen, the FCC, the Forward Command Center, but, it presents itself well. They're going to sell a bunch of it, and then they're going to get dinged on surveys probably, on the IQS or on Appeal or whatever survey they're going to, whatever survey they take. I doubt people are going to be in love with controlling the climate control in their Escalade via this.
It's shiny, though.
It is shiny.
That's the thing. Shiny, it sells.
Yeah. But will it sell again? That's the point. That's the problem. Meaning, you can get a first sale out of this. And they don't, here's the thing. They don't need to do this. They didn't need to do this, right? Like they already had the 55-inch behemoth of a screen in here. It already is shiny. It presents itself well. They didn't need to do another thing below it. They could have just done, in a nice, presented buttons in a nice set of buttons. Like the current model, the pre-refresh model's got buttons. switches up and down, up and down. They all work great. They look great. I don't think they look any better or worse than this. But to your point, yeah, they're not shiny. They're not as shiny as those.
I'm just thinking about it as a father. Sometimes I'm on the highway. My kids are, Dad, I'm hot. Dad, I'm cold. If I have to look down, my eyes are not on the road. I can use anything else. I can use other safety features. Most of the time, I'm not going to do it. Why? Because I trust myself too much, and I'm going to be like, "No, I got this."
Right.
Certain the button.
Right.
So that's one of the things why I asked. I'm like, "Is it a safety thing?" Because to me, it would be a safety concern overall.
Yeah.
Beyond anything else, it would be that. But
yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you have to spend more time with this. Eyes off the road, more time. And it's something that I've seen in countless cars. Like almost every new, especially luxury vehicle, is doing this, and they're going to have to. Someone's going to have to put out some regulation. There isn't any legislation here in the U.S. just yet. Like I said, there is in Europe, but in the U.S. there's no legislation on this yet. So kind of sad, but that's the reality we live in. And I don't think that they did a bad job on this, right? It's just that's everyone's moving in that direction. They're also moving in that direction. The good news is that there are some tactile controls still there. Right below that screen, or I guess further back into the center console, you still have the rotary controller, and you have the volume controller, the smaller one, right next to it. So you still have that. They didn't go completely, get rid of all knobs. So you could still use some tactile physical controls. But most of what's going to be taking place is going to be on that HVAC screen, and that's the long and short of it. I should also note that the 55-inch screen, it is bookended by a set of AKG speakers with really attractive grills. You can see them on the left and right of the screen there. Cadillac has been getting better and better almost every year, if not more frequently than that, in designing speaker grills. They've really done a great job on models like the XT6 with the up-level speaker system. I think that's where I remember seeing it first. And this Escalade is no different. The speaker grill looks good. It's high-tech. It looks nice. So nice detail there. I could also tell you about the two new interior colorways. So two new interior colorways are joining the lineup. One is Renaissance Red, and the other is Jet Black and Sheer Gray. Now, Renaissance Red is a leather interior with a faceted quilt and perforated seats, and a dark open pore wood veneer with a high contrast pore filler to really bring that look together. Jet Black and Sheer Gray, it features a contrasting leather and heathered gray fabric. This is quite interesting, actually. It also has faceted, quilted, and perforated seats, and high gloss wood veneer with a linear marquetry technique to create a layering effect of tones and textures. So you can kind of see it here, right there on the door card here in these photos that we have. You can see how that looks right there. There is an all-new steering wheel. So it's a 2-spoke steering wheel now, no 6 o'clock spoke at all. So it's a nice open space there. And the buttons, the controls on the steering wheel are completely new. The thing that is maybe not so great is that the buttons are gone on the steering wheel. So there are buttons still. Don't get me wrong, there are buttons, but they're now capacitive buttons. So they're no longer physical buttons that deliver a click, a tactile feel. They did give them haptic feedback on the steering wheel.
Did you say haptic?
Haptic
Feedback? So you're going to get that little vibration?
It gets a little vibration, but it's not the same as pressing a real button, man. It's not the same thing. And it's quite sad that this is the direction in which, the entire industry is moving towards. But again, this is something that is not new for Cadillac. We've seen the steering wheel before on the Lyric and so on and so forth. The shifter, that's now been repositioned to as we discussed in episode 2, the shifter has now been repositioned to the right-hand stalk, so it's that digital precision shifter. And then to correspond with that, the actual left-hand stalk has also been redesigned. And that one controls the lighting, the turn signals, as well as the different wiper functions. There is one other thing I should note, which is the door cards. And I believe that the door cards have actually been redesigned for the refresh. I didn't get a close-up look or a confirmation on this, but it does seem to me like the door cards have actually been redone. And then there is a couple of other interesting details here. So, for instance, they have the Cadillac, the Merlettes, they're not ducks, they're Merlettes. Okay, those are now on the door jamb area at the front. So that is a touch that is coming over from the Escalade IQ. That's something that was started there, and now it's making its way over to the internal combustion engine Escalade. I think the interior of the current Escalade, the pre-refreshed Escalade, is already really good, but this takes it to a whole nother level from a detail standpoint. These are the things that customers expect in this segment. So that's the interior, but there is one little surprise on the interior. So that surprise is the executive second row package. And it's essentially a not just a seating package, but it's really a treatment of the second row overall. So it brings to the table stowable tray tables, 12.6-inch diagonal personal screens, a rear command center, just like that forward command center, the FCC that we just discussed. It brings one of those, dual wireless phone charging pads, massaging seats, and headrest speakers. So this essentially is a straight lifting of the same package from the Escalade IQ, bringing it to the internal combustion engine Escalade, which is great news. I've been a long-time proponent of a package like this, kind of a very high-end, luxurious seating package for the Escalade, but I think they could have gone even further. I think they could offer two of these packages. The first package is what they're offering now. So it's, second row on steroids. The third, or the second package that I would offer in conjunction or in addition to this one is a executive second row package, the way they have it here, but with the third row removed. Slide those seats, those second row seats, back to where you have palatial levels of room in the second row, and just eliminate that third row altogether for those who don't need it, and just have a four-seat Cadillac Escalade.
These treatments are pretty big in China. I've seen them do some crazy stuff with the interiors. Vans are just beautiful. Yeah. You got screens everywhere.
GM themselves, they have one of the best-selling luxury vans in the segment. It's the Buick GL8, and they have just exactly what you said, beautiful, gorgeous interiors with, just awesome seating packages. There's ones where you could recline the seats. There are others that you can recline the seats and you get a nice little footrest coming up there. The package that I'm suggesting be added, without the third row, that package would go perfectly, actually, with a footrest, being extended from the bottom of the seat. And I suspect that they haven't done it yet due to safety reasons. It's tough to, there's airbags involved, there's seat belts, all that stuff you have to relocate and figure out how it's going to fare in crash tests. So I suspect that that's the reason they haven't done it yet in the Escalade here, or really in the Escalade anywhere, but, the primary market for the Escalade is the U.S. So that's something I would like to see personally, but this is a good start. The executive second row package is a good start for the time being. Okay, and then from there, we have a few other technology level surprises. The first one is power open and close doors. So these are optional on most trims, but they're standard on the V Series as well as the two Platinum trims, the Premium Luxury Platinum and the Sport Platinum. So the way this works is there's a few kind of combinations. The general gist of it is that these are power open and close doors. So all four doors can open and close at the touch of a button on the door handle or from the command center, which we had just thoroughly discussed, right? And if activated, this is an option that you have to activate if you want it, but you can have the driver's door, only the driver's door, automatically open as the driver approaches the 2025 Escalade with the key fob. Again, this is an option. So, if you don't want it, you can turn it off. It won't do it. But if you want to, and you're coming up to the car, it will start to open that door for you. Yes, before anyone, freaks out, The system does have obstacle awareness. So it has sensors. They're located in the door handles. There are actual radars located in the door handles. And these are, obviously there to prevent the door from hitting anything. And then there's one more feature. So you can brake to close. You get in, you hit the brake. You don't even need to close the door. You don't even need to press anything to close the door. It will just close the door for you.
This is the gentleman's dream.
This is the gentleman's dream. You don't have to get out anymore.
This is it, man. This is the future.
I personally like, opening the door, but, it's if you don't have to.
You don't miss a door that needs to be opened ever. This is great.
Exactly. You will never be caught in a spot where you forgot to do it.
The gentleman of gentlemen drives the Escalade.
Yep.
And he opens doors.
Now imagine when this feature moves its way into mainstream vehicles that are not $100,000 luxury vehicles. At that point, chivalry is truly dead.
You'd have to level up something else. You got to figure
something else out.
I don't know. This is great.
I don't know.
Can they do it? Will men be able to refresh themselves?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. I'm sure it will be a new thing by then. But
they'll figure something out.
But we're at least 5, 10, 15 years away from this technology making its way over to many other vehicles.
The masses.
Yeah, the masses. The one thing that I don't like about this feature is that it's not coordinated with the air suspension. So the Escalade has air suspension that moves it up and down. All right. Why is this not coordinated? Meaning, if the door is opening, it should lower the vehicle. It should kneel it, right?
You're 100% right on that.
So why is it not coordinated? I don't know. This is one thing that I was very much surprised and impressed by the fact that power open and close doors are on the menu, but they are the fact that they're not coordinated with the air suspension makes no sense. It's a strange omission in my opinion. Luckily, they can do this retroactively in software and just distribute it out later on. But I'm guessing that there's some kind of a regulatory little thing taking place, a little nuance taking place where if they, imagine if someone gets hurt, right? Because someone's walking up to the car, maybe someone's under the car changing the oil, and all of a sudden the thing starts dropping. I mean, I don't know. These are...
they need sense. I mean, just from you saying about the door has sensors to figure out if it's going to hit something while it's opening. I mean, I don't think that they're planning on putting sensors underneath the car just in case. So the execution of it may not be as soon as we'd like, but it makes a perfect sense. If you're going to be opening a door, you might as well make it easier to get in.
Right.
Right.
That's the one thing actually that ticks me off about my BMW X7.
It doesn't do that.
It has air suspension, but it doesn't. It's dumb. Meaning I have to always control it. So in the Escalade, one of the things you can do is you can say right now, even before the refresh, you can say when I get to this spot, lower the suspension to this level if it's safe to do so. Right, the vehicle will prevent it or enable it or prevent it. The BMW doesn't. I have to then, when I'm getting home, I have to manually remember. I have to always remember, let's move that dial down a step so it actually kneels. Not something I'd like to do. The good news is that the Escalade has running boards, and those help with ingress and egress. But man, would I have loved to see air suspension being coordinated with the power open closed doors. That would be just incredible. But nevertheless, this is something, like I said, that if they want to, they can make it happen and push it out as a software update over the air or not. Speaking of over the air, 5G. So no longer 4G. The 2025 Escalade, as we discussed in episode 2, features now 5G connectivity. So you basically have a faster connection for the built-in infotainment stuff. That is, for the Google Automotive Services, for the infotainment system as a whole, plus the faster speed for in-vehicle Wi-Fi. That is great. 5G is always good. There is now improved ambient lighting. which carries over from the Escalade IQ. So it has 126 color options in 2 zones. That's really cool. From there, the AKG Studio 19-speaker audio system, that is standard, while the AKG Studio Reference speaker system is optional. That continues to be the way it is, the way it's been since the 2021 and newer model. But the AKG Studio Reference system, which was a 36 speaker system, it now bumps the speaker count to 40 if you opt for that executive second row package that we had discussed just a few minutes ago.
But wait, there is more. What else we got?
There is. Super Cruise carries over. We already knew that. There's Night Vision. We already knew that. That's still standard on V-Series and Platinum trims. And really, that's it. That's it for the tech. And that brings me to the powertrain. And in case you did listen to episode 2, the powertrain is exactly how we had predicted. Really not even, sorry, wait. We made a mistake in episode 2. It was actually episode 4. I should correct myself. Episode 4 is where we discussed the lack of diesel. So the diesel's gone. Okay. In its place are the other remaining gasoline engines, the 6.2 V8 L87. So that stays as the base engine in the Escalade 600. And then the supercharged 6.2 liter V8 LT4, that stays in the Escalade V. So diesel's gone, no more 600D. 10-speed auto continues as the sole transmission. There will be revised fuel economy, though, and that is because of the weight changes associated with all the new features that we had just been talking about. That brings me to the trim line, the trim level structure. The trim level structure carries over. So 6 trim levels, starting with luxury, moving into premium luxury platinum on the one hand of the Y, and then sport platinum, and V on the other hand of the Y. The same thing is carried over into the Escalade ESV. So the luxury trim level did not get dropped, contrary to what I had expected that would take place, I think, during episode 2. But they will be making less of it. So it's almost, I was on the right track. So what they're doing is they're going to reconfigure their mix. So they will be making more Sport Platinums and more Vs and less of some other trims. I imagine that one of the trims that they'll be making less of is the luxury. And then that really brings me to the final point, which is availability. So production will begin, as we had said on episode 2. Production will begin in late 2024 at the Arlington plant in Texas. That plant is celebrating its 70th anniversary in 2024.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary, exactly. That, of course, is the exclusive assembly site for the gasoline-powered Cadillac Escalade, the Escalade ESV, as well as the Escalade V. And that's really it. That's the refresh.
So some pretty exciting stuff coming in for the 2025 Cadillac Escalade refresh.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the most important part of the show. Do you have any final thoughts, man?
The Escalade's A-pillar. No, I'm kidding. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Are we over it?
The amount of letters I've received has quadrupled since the last time we've talked about this, about the optics A-pillar. And you know what? I have people who are siding with me. They're siding with me. I have like thinkers on the optics A-pillar.
Finally, it's happening.
Finally, I've done something right.
I got a small team of toddlers that have written me letters specifically angry about the A-pillar, but I didn't know what to do with it. So I kind of let it slide.
So you threw them out?
I let it slide. I'm like, all right, kids. Okay. You shouldn't know how to write or read. What the hell's going on?
You shouldn't be able to put a dash. You shouldn't know that there's a dash between the word A and pillar. Just, as an observation, as a tip, a pro tip for those of you who are gonna send me hate mail, which I love. Send me all the mail you've got. I'm good for it. Hate mail, positive mail, neutral mail. You want to send me photos? You know who you are, by the way, right? So if you're gonna do that, do it. But at least have the decency to spell A-pillar the right way. And the way that it's spelled the right way is with a frickin' dash between the word A, the letter A, and then the word pillar that follows it. A dash pillar. Pillar is spelled with 2 L's. That's all I'm going to say. Those are my final thoughts.
A pillar. Anyways.
Just kidding. Wait, let me just... But a pillar, exactly.
A pillar.
But coming back to the Escalade, I think this is a great refresh. I think the Escalade's been the best-selling vehicle in its segment since 2015. I think it will continue to dominate the segment. And I think that this will only help it do that going forward. The only concern that I have is that now the Escalade is, it's still body on frame, right? And its competitors, more and more competitors are now entering the fray, and they're not body on frame. They're unibody. So, Range Rover, the big one, the BMW X7 that I ended up buying for myself, the Mercedes GLS class, and what else is there? There's a couple of things here and there that you can maybe shoehorn into that class, but those three specifically, the Europeans, the three, European models. Audi, that's the one I was thinking of. Audi will have a Q9 in the near future. They're already testing it. It's going to be coming to market. I think it's going to be Audi's last internal combustion engined vehicle launch that they will do before transitioning entirely to EVs. So Audi will have a unibody vehicle here as well. So now you kind of have this schism of sorts where you have, a body on frame, big boys like the Escalade, like the Navigator, like the QX80. And, I guess you could throw in the Lexus in there. That doesn't really sell all that much. And then you have on the other end, unibodies. And they're getting to be, it's getting to a point now where the unibodies are starting to really eat into the sales of these body on frame models. And I don't know if they're necessarily eating in as much as they are just attracting a new audience. But at the end of the day, someone who is buying the GLS, someone's buying the X7, someone's buying the Range Rover. Those are potential Escalade customers. And a lot of times, the reason for the purchase of the unibody model is the driving dynamics. People are starting to like the kind of the floaty thing less and less. Now, I will say that the 5th gen Escalade, they've done a great job of modulating a lot of that. They've gone to an independent rear suspension, no more leaf springs as on the prior generation models. So these are not, trucks, right? Pickups with a different body anymore. But at the end of the day, when you're driving the Escalade now, and now that diesel is gone, you still have those body on frame, things coming out. I am a little bit concerned seeing the X7 and how well it's selling, the GLS, how well it's selling, and then to a smaller extent how the Range Rover is selling now. And then that Q9, when it lands, it's also going to start, getting some sales. Those are all potential Escalade customers. But outside of that, I think that this is a very competent refresh. Everything with the exception of that, the FCC, the Forward Command Center, I like everything about it.
All right. Thank you all for joining us on the 9th episode of the Cadillac Society podcast. You can find this show at cadillacsociety.com/podcast and on the Metrolix Network YouTube channel. Please remember to hit that like button and give us a follow to stay up to date on the latest Cadillac news. We're also on your favorite podcatchers, including Apple Podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Android Podcast, Amazon Music, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. So be sure to subscribe and leave a review. If you would like us to discuss something specific, you can now suggest a topic by going to cadillacsociety.com/podcast.
And I should also say, stay tuned for episode 10 next week, because that is when we will have the long-promised show about the CT6 and the Blackwing engine, production numbers of the Blackwing engine in the now discontinued CT6. So we promised that one. We have it planned for next week.
Looking forward to that one. But in the meantime, be sure to visit cadillacsociety.com for the latest news and forums.
Motrolix.
Cadillac Society is an independent enthusiast website and podcast and is not affiliated with, sponsored by, or otherwise associated with Cadillac or General Motors.